Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
Oh man, the people are mad about Roseanne Barr. It's a liberal deep state plot to do away with a one star who had the courage to speak the truth about Trump. Yeah, no, it's not. And on the other side of the political fence, people are all bent out of shape, jumping up and down, saying, yes, a blow against Trump-era acceptance of bigotry and racism has been struck. Yeah, no, it hasn't. You see, people are going to be arguing about this at your water cooler for the foreseeable future. People are going to take the moral high ground and say, I'm right and you're wrong. And, well, I'm going to tell you now how you can walk away from their mindless time and energy-wasting babble, knowing that they're both wrong. And it's not about either of those things. It's not about a liberal plot to do away with a pro-Trump celebrity. It's not about striking a blow against Trump-era bigotry and racism. It's not about a company that has a set of morals that are aligned with yours. No. These people arguing about this in front of you, like they will be doing for the next couple of days, they're both wrong. And I'm going to explain to you why. In case somehow you managed to miss it, and of course you didn't, ABC canceled Roseanne after Roseanne Barr posted a racist tweet. Roseanne was television's most watched show this year. I mean, it was a screaming success. Had you watched it? I hadn't seen an episode. It was sort of like vaguely on my to-do list just to see what all the freaking fuss was about. And I knew it, to me, it was an interesting one because I knew that there were definite political motivations around Roseanne. And hey, look, we live in a politically charged era. Anybody that wants to capitalize on that in this politically charged time is, well, doing something that makes perfect and total sense. But it was one of those things where it was so devoutly followed by people that were into Trump. Trump was tweeting Roseanne big congratulations because she's kind of a supporter of his, and it was one of those things where it became partisan comedy. And I was like, partisan comedy. Yeah. I wonder if any of it's actually funny. So it was sort of in the back of my mind to watch it. And now it sounds like I'm going to have a difficult time watching it because, well, ABC canceled it, and I don't think there's a shred of evidence left on the internet that it ever really existed. ABC canceled it after Roseanne Barr posted a racist tweet about former Obama advisor Valerie Jarrett, who's African American. Now, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I think she said that Valerie Jarrett was sort of the equivalent of the Muslim Brotherhood, and I think there was some sort of derogatory racist Planet of the Apes type slur, like the Muslim Brotherhood mated with Planet of the Apes, and you got Valerie Jarrett. This really kind of, well, I mean, it's not cool for any number of reasons, but the most obvious one being the level of racism involved anytime you compare a black person to something even vaguely akin to Planet of the Apes. What the hell she was thinking, we're not entirely sure. Was it surprising that retribution was swift and final? In no way, shape, or form was it. I don't understand how someone could have been in the game for that long, how someone could have been as successful as Roseanne Barr has been for that long, and not kind of get that, oh man, what are you thinking? Like, even if you think that's funny in your mind, that probably shouldn't even go in your act, let alone on Twitter. That's sort of not okay. I went and saw Roseanne do stand-up. I just remembered I went and saw Roseanne do stand-up a little while ago. She killed. She was hilarious. I don't remember any of it being in any way, shape, or form partisan. Like I said, partisan comedy. It's a bit of a contradiction in terms. But I went and saw Roseanne. She was great. She was really, really funny. But she was also a complete and total pro, like a master at work when I saw her do comedy, which makes me wonder how on earth it's possible for her to miss something so jarringly obvious as tweeting this while you've got a hit show. I mean, at all ever, because it is sort of morally repugnant, absolutely. But thinking that you were going to do this and still have a hit show just boggles my mind. Have a show at all. Boggles my mind. maybe it was some sort of self-sabotage, because I can't imagine her being that oblivious to what this would do when she tweeted it. Apparently she thought it was funny, but even she realized that she crossed a line after she found out she was in trouble. A few hours later, she tweeted, quote, "I'm now leaving Twitter. I apologize to Valerie Jarrett and to all Americans. I'm truly sorry for making a bad joke about her politics and her looks. I should have known better. Forgive me. My joke was in bad taste." Now, Valerie seems like a random target, but here's the thing. Not so much, and we'll get into why next.
Real radio.
104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So you want to know what it's all about? You want to know what it's all about? I'll tell you now. It's not about the liberal deep state plot to do away with the one star who had the courage to speak the truth about Trump. No. It's not about the company having a moral compass that is aligned with yours, that did the right thing because it was the right thing to do. No. It was about money. It's about money. And if you disagree with me, well, let's get into why. I'm going to explain to you why what happened to Roseanne was about money. She tweeted something hideously racist. It was wrong. And I have to guess that there's some level of self-sabotage going on there, because she's a pro. She's been in it for a really long time. She had to have known you can't do this. You can't have a hit show and tweet something like that and expect to have a hit show tomorrow. So there's part of me that thinks there might have been a level of self-sabotage going on here. She thought it was funny, but even after that, she realized she crossed a line. She tweeted, "I'm now leaving Twitter. I apologize to Valerie Jarrett, to all Americans. I'm truly sorry for making a bad joke about her politics and her looks. I should have known better. Forgive me. My joke was in bad taste." Now, Valerie seems like a random target, but here's the deal. Roseanne's kind of a conspiracy theorist. She tweets about conspiracy theories a lot. And in this case, she was responding to a tweet alleging that Valerie had helped hide various Obama-era secrets. Now, ABC wasted absolutely no time. They fired her lickety-freaking split. I think she apologized, and then 3 hours later, they said, quote, "Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent and inconsistent with our values, and we've decided to cancel her show." ABC is, of course, owned by Disney. They said they weren't having it. Disney CEO Bob Iger said, quote, "There was only one thing to do here, and that was the right thing." He said, "You can't debate what is morally right." Actually, I think there's people that debate that professionally, but potato. They took a strong stance on this. Now, for the record, Valerie is not Muslim, and she's not a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. She was born in Iran in 1956, but her parents are Americans, and her father was there running a hospital for children. Not that any of this matters even a little bit. Valerie responded, and she did so in sort of a productive and mature way, I think. Have a listen to this.
Turn it into a teaching moment. I'm fine. I'm worried about all the people out there who don't have a circle of friends and followers who come right to their defense. The person who's walking down the street minding their own business and they see somebody cling to their purse or want to cross the street. Or every black parent I know who has a boy who has to sit down and have a conversation, the talk, as we call it. And those, as you say, those ordinary examples of racism that happen every single day. And I think that's why I'm so glad to be here this evening talking with all of you.
Anyways, there you go. That was Valerie Jarrett's response. Turn it into a teaching moment. Now, Roseanne did not just lose her show. Roseanne was dropped by her agency, ICM Partners, which called the tweet disgraceful and unacceptable. And ABC has done away with its Emmy promotion on behalf of the show. Meanwhile, like I said, I hadn't seen Roseanne, and I don't think I'm going to get a chance to. It's disappearing all over the interwebs. It's being deleted from history. Roseanne's disappearing from Hulu. Hulu dropped it. I think the Paramount Network dropped it. TV Land, CMT, they've all pulled their scheduled reruns. It's not going to be a thing anymore. You probably won't be able to see Roseanne on TV like ever again. It's gone the way of the Cosby Show. And on top of everything else, I don't know if you knew this, but this was not the first time Roseanne compared an African-American Democrat to an ape. Back in 2013, she called Obama's National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, quote, a man with big swinging ape, body parts. There you go. Sarah Gilbert from the show said Roseanne's recent comments about Valerie Jarrett and so much more are abhorrent and do not reflect the beliefs of our cast and crew or anyone associated with the show. I'm disappointed in her actions, to say the least. This is incredibly sad and difficult for all of us. We've created a show that we believe in, are proud of, and that audiences love. One that is separate and apart from the opinions and words of one cast member. Now, like I said, in the final analysis, this doesn't come down to some moralistic battle. There's all these folks going, well, if Roseanne's going to lose her show for comparing a person to an ape, well, then Bill Maher, who said Donald Trump looked like an orangutan, he should lose his show on HBO. Well, here's the thing. I mean, there isn't the history of racism in that comparison. But B, when Bill Maher does that on HBO in front of his audience, compares Donald Trump to an orangutan, you know what it doesn't do? It doesn't mess with the money. HBO are in no way, shape, or form beholden to advertisers in the same way that an ABC is. So they can continue without a hitch in their financial giddy-up. And for that reason, they go on, regardless of what you think is fair or right. None of this has to do with what's fair or right. Like I said, it all has to do with money, and we'll get into exactly why and how next.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
Give it up, yeah. Give it up, yeah. Bring this on, come on.
So here's the deal. This is why I'm confident in telling you that the decision to get rid of Roseanne and Roseanne's TV show, the reboot of Roseanne, the biggest television show of the year, screaming success. This is why it's all to do with money. It's not a deep state liberal media plot to get rid of the one celebrity who had the biggest show in the history of big shows that also happened to be a massive Trump supporter. It's not a plot to do away with her. No. ABC were cashing in fine form on the Roseanne show. If they could have kept making it, they would have kept making it. And it had absolutely nothing to do with ABC's virtue. It had everything to do with cash and advertising and the almighty dollar. And this is how we know that's absolutely true. Do you remember what happened with John Lasseter? Oh, you don't remember John Lasseter? It was such a big deal. It really was. But there's a reason you don't remember. Do you remember who John Lasseter is? Well, let me jog your memory. I'm sure this will all come back to you because he was all over the news last year. But there's a good reason, perfectly acceptable reason, that you wouldn't remember John Lasseter. John Lasseter is not a guy who you'd know. He's not a guy who you would recognize if you saw him walking down the street, probably. unless you were an insider in the world of entertainment, specifically animation, because John Lasseter worked behind the scenes in the world of cartoons. For Pixar, as a matter of fact, a company very, very tightly tied with Disney. John Lasseter, he's an animator. He's a filmmaker. He is the chief creative officer at the moment of Pixar Animation Studios, of Walt Disney Animation Studios, and Disney Toon Studios. He's also the principal creative advisor for Walt Disney Imagineering. And Lasseter, is any of this coming back to you? Lasseter is currently taking a 6-month sabbatical after acknowledging missteps in his behavior with employees. And this guy's a big deal. He's created entertainment that you loved, that your children loved. He directed the first 2 Toy Story films. He's been a key member of Disney's sort of creative think tank and of Pixar's creative think tank. When Disney bought Pixar back in 2006, he became, like I said, the chief creative officer of both Pixar and Disney Animation. And he was in charge of, like I said, all these movies that you love, that your children love. He was the person in charge of films like Frozen. Yeah, this was a guy in charge of Frozen. He was in charge of Tangled. He was in charge of Wreck-It Ralph. He was also described by the females that worked with him as an overly enthusiastic hugger. That was a polite way of putting it. Unwanted physical advances galore. The women that worked with him had a move. The women that worked with Lasseter had a move. It was called the Lasseter. And what this physical move was that the women who worked with him practiced on a regular basis was a physical move to prevent him from putting his hands between their legs without consent. Now, this all happened at the height of Me Too a little while back. The time where we saw Kevin Spacey, where we saw Louis C.K. and Harvey Weinstein and the like immediately canned. Shows canceled, companies taken away, roles lost, careers ended. It all happened, and it happened lickety-freaking split. Rose McGowan did what she did, and all of a sudden the dominoes started to fall, and they fell very quickly, and the dominoes were not getting back up. These were highly visible, powerful superstars. These were captains of industry. These were also people who were at the same time grubby little worms. But they were bounced so fast that it put their wandering mitts in a time warp. But not this guy, John Lasseter. Not John Lasseter. John Lasseter, Disney's cartoon guy, creator and mastermind behind all these beloved childhood classics, which makes his sexual improprieties that much more disturbing. That his sexual misconduct happened while he was making children's movies. If you're like me, it just makes your stomach turn. Was he bounced immediately? Was he divested of his company? Was he fired? Was he shunned by the industry forever and ever? Amen. Not so much. He kind of got a pass. He kind of got a stay of execution. I think he's right now finishing up a 6-month leave of absence. Yeah, a leave of absence, think about what he did. Or lay low until the heat dies down, basically. And it looks like he's going to come back to the company. Disney, same company that owns ABC, that just fired Roseanne. But it looks like he's going to come back to the company. And, well, he won't be the same guy that he was before. He won't be the figurehead of all these animated movies. He's going to have, I think, what they're calling a quote-unquote reduced role. Which basically equals, all right, so let's not trot him out in front of audiences at premieres because that'll creep people the hell out. Let's not have him pretend to be this super fantastic guy anymore. We've known for a while that he wasn't. I mean, we were cropping. It was funny. There were records of all these big premiere parties where there were pictures taken, and he was grabbing McFeels a lot in a wildly inappropriate way at a lot of these parties, and there were pictures taken, and Disney would go back through and crop out photo documentation of him being a massive creeper before they were released to the public. So they knew, they understood. But as long as, the whistle wasn't blown, they were happy to carry on. Yeah. So he's got to come back. He's going to have, like I said, this reduced role, which means, like we said earlier, he won't be out in front of audiences at premieres. We no longer will pretend he's a super fantastic guy. He'll be someone who's working through a set of very serious problems. Yeah, in his reduced role, we will hide him away, but keep him working for us, because as it turns out, he's like super good at creating movies that make us literally billions of dollars. And there it is. You see, Disney waited until things cooled down with Lasseter, then figured out how they could still keep the bucks rolling in on the back of his work, because as it turns out, he's good at making movies that get people to spend money. Now, why is this different? How come he got the different treatment from everybody else in these situations? Well, Lasseter isn't someone, like I said, that you know if you bumped into him walking down the street, unless you're in the world of entertainment or animation specifically. Lasseter, while immensely powerful and influential in the world of movie making and animation, is not someone that you and I would know from a hole in the wall. He's not in the cartoons. We don't see Toy Story. Think about this. We don't see Toy Story 1 and 2 that he directed and recoil in the same way we would if we saw an old episode of The Cosby Show. We're somehow disassociated from it because he's not in it. It's his creation, in much the same way that Cosby Show and Roseanne were Cosby and Roseanne's creations, but he's not in it. It's not as visceral. It's not as tangible. There's a couple mental degrees of separation to where we can still watch Toy Story, and still parents are having their kids watch Toy Story and not feeling all that bad about it, that the person who was in charge of the whole thing, that was helming the project, is somebody that is guilty of sexual misconduct. So, yeah, Disney didn't have to can him the way they did Roseanne. Do you see why? Do you see how? Do you see how it's all really just about the money? Now, if that in and of itself, if the fact that Disney are willing to hold on to John Lasseter because they can, and that doesn't upset the financial apple cart, but they got to get rid of Roseanne immediately because, well, she absolutely did upset the financial apple cart. If that seems hypocritical to you, if that seems morally ambiguous, maybe even morally repugnant to you, well, that's more or less because it is. But guess what? Unfortunately, this is America. And, well, it's Disney's right to be hypocritical. It's Disney's right to be morally repugnant. All they really got to worry about is making money. People jumping up and down over the firing of Roseanne and the cancellation of her show, and the idea that it's the, like I said, plot of the liberal media. People all mad that Bill Maher once compared Trump to an orangutan, and he hasn't been fired, but Roseanne has. Well, if you're angry about all of these things, if you are stacking up lucid point after cogent observation as this situation plays out, guess what? Many of them might be bang on the money. Many of your cogent lucid observations about how it's unfair that Roseanne lost her job and Bill Maher keeps his could be totally right. And you know what else? Not one of them matters. Not one of them matters. Not one of them makes a lick of freaking difference, no matter how right you are, because you know what? This is America. This is the free market. This is the almighty dollar speaking. You have no say. You don't have any say in what Disney does. You didn't vote for Iger. You don't get to decide or make any kind of contribution to the trajectory of Disney or ABC or Pixar. You don't get to say what Disney does or does not do. They're a company, like every company in America, that before anything else, before morality, before the idea of racism, before the idea of equality or any of the above enters into the equation, before any of that comes into play, they've got their own financial self-interest in mind. They don't care what you and I think unless it hurts them financially. They don't care what you and I think. They don't have to. Now, this was no picnic for them. This was no picnic for the folks over at Disney. They had the biggest show in America. The biggest show in America. It was making them money hand over fist. It was attracting knee-jerk loyalists to Roseanne and Trump that were going to vote with their dollars and buy products and goods and services that they saw advertised on the show. You see it all the time. I'm gonna support them because they had the stones to advertise with the tellers of the truth. That unwavering, politically motivated, virtue signaling consumer dollar. That's a good dollar. It's a really, really good dollar to get because you know what? That unwavering, politically motivated, virtue signaling consumer dollar that makes people feel patriotic when they plunk it down for a product they heard advertised on a show that they agree with morally. Those are good dollars to get because they don't go anywhere. That's money in the bank. Checks coming in day after day. So do you think that Disney wanted to get rid of Roseanne? Hell no, they didn't want to get rid of Roseanne. They wanted to ride that gravy train all the way to Gravy Town and continue to reside as Lord Mayor of Gravyopolis, USA, collecting unwavering, unthinking, loyalist political dollars until long after Walt's frozen head was thawed out. And they could get on the Mouseketeer-powered rocket ship to infinity and beyond, or wherever the hell they were headed. But no. Nope. Roseanne blew it for them. And if you think that they didn't just want to keep collecting the checks, well, I'm sorry to tell you that you're wrong. So before a person goes ranting and raving about a plot to destroy Trump supporters, before people fall all over themselves to commend a company for having a moral compass that is so specifically aligned with their own moral compass, before you postulate, before you hypothesize, before you imagine that this has anything to do with anything else, let me just disabuse you of that notion. It's none of the above. It's about money. It's about money. It always has been about money, and it always will be about money. And you know what? This is America, and that's okay, but it's a lot more simple than people are making it. It is about money. If they could continue making the loot with Roseanne, they would, but they can't, so they won't. It's not the employer who pays the wages. Employers only handle the money. It's the customer who pays the wages. Henry Ford.
Sometimes you just know you're done. You're longing for that shining sun. You walk these streets most every day. You're waiting to get washed away. Radio. Radio. 104.1.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock nobody better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, it's your boy AD, and can't nobody rock nobody better than me.
Yeah, so this obviously happened.
The firing of Roseanne.
Roseanne going after Valerie Jarrett.
ABC Entertainment president Roseanne's Twitter statement is abhorrent.
She shouldn't have said it. She knows she shouldn't have said it.
Repugnant and inconsistent with our values, and we have decided to cancel her show.
Cancel.
MSNBC, did you see this? MSNBC brought Joy Reid on to talk about the Roseanne situation, which is unbelievably awkward because she's had her own social media scandal. Only hers involved homophobic posts. Andrea Mitchell asked her, quote, "What do you have to do on social media to get fired from a top-rated show on an American broadcast network?" On Fox News, Harris Faulkner defended Roseanne, saying that Roseanne's comments were nothing more than free speech. And the conversation went on to mention that Roseanne was just a comedian with a twisted sense of humor. Well, yeah. That's interesting because, strangely, he didn't offer the same free pass to Kathy Griffin last year. By the way, not supporting what Kathy Griffin did. I'm just telling you. Goose, gander, what's good for both of them, good for the other. Whatever cute little homily you want to apply to the situation, there's some obvious hypocrisy going on there. It's very possible that Roseanne is headed for the same black hole where Kathy Griffin was banished to after she posed for that Trump severed head photo. I mean, it's sort of like the left has Kathy Griffin and the right has Roseanne now, so there you go. Kathy couldn't get booked for any stand-up shows for a year, and now Roseanne's only scheduled show for 2018 has been canceled. And interestingly enough, last month, Roseanne shared a few rules of comedy. And rule number 2 was, quote, comedy comes from love, not from hate. If you feel hate, you won't get laughs. So, there you go. If you have anything to add to the conversation, tweet me at ADSXE. I'd be curious to know if you think that she deserved to lose her show. Now, she's got an interesting line of defense. She's blaming it on sleep medication. Yeah, Ambien specifically. She said she was going to leave Twitter. She did not leave Twitter. She stayed on Twitter and she continued to apologize and kind of sort of, make excuses for what had happened. Roseanne Barr didn't leave Twitter. She issued a couple of apologies. Now, this one actually seemed a bit more sincere. In a series of tweets, she said, quote, don't feel sorry for me, guys. I just want to apologize to the hundreds of people and wonderful writers, all liberal and talented actors who lost their jobs on my show due to my stupid tweet. Losing my show is zero compared to being labeled a racist over one tweet. It was 2 a.m. and I was Ambien tweeting. It was Memorial Day too. I went too far. I do not want it defended. It was egregious and indefensible. And please don't start all that boycott ABC stuff. I'm not a censor, and they have the right to do what they wish. I'm not a censor. I think she meant I haven't been censored. I don't know. She also tweeted an apology at Valerie and said, quote, I'm truly sorry. My whole life has been about fighting racism. I made a terrible mistake. She's actually going to be on, I think, Joe Rogan's podcast on Friday to discuss it. It's an interesting one because this whole thing of, free speech, it doesn't enter into it. She's an edgy comedian. She's just exercising her American right to free speech. Well, yeah, like I said before, free speech doesn't really matter. It's down to ABC. ABC decided this was no longer a financially viable option. We cannot continue with this person after what they've done and expect to make money. ABC relies on advertisers. ABC relies on sponsors. And ABC has a lot of other shows on the air. And they couldn't take the risk, I'm guessing. They probably weighed the fiscal pros and cons and decided very, very quickly that they could not take the risk of losing advertising on their other shows because they were going to kind of see how things went with Roseanne. So there you go. There you have it. It's not a free speech issue. It's a free market economy issue. Two very, very different things. But yeah, thanks to the free market economy working the way it did, Roseanne Barr didn't only get herself fired, everybody connected with her show is out of work. Although several of them were already going to quit themselves. Wanda Sykes was working as a writer. She was working as a consultant and a producer on the show. But as soon as she saw the tweet, she said that she would not be returning, which obviously became a moot point because very quickly there was no show to return to. Sarah Gilbert, Darlene, as we were saying earlier, denounced Roseanne before the show was canceled, but clearly she saw the writing on the wall. John Goodman, a lot of people wondering about this one. John Goodman has not commented, but he was spotted walking his dog in New Orleans where he lives and looking, he wasn't looking terribly jovial. Emma Kenny, who plays Darlene's daughter Harris, actually called her manager to quit the show, and that's when she was told that ABC was already shutting it down. Emma praised ABC for, quote, standing up against abuse of power and lack of values, saying, quote, bullies do not win ever. Michael Fishman, who is DJ from the show, he called Roseanne's comments reprehensible and intolerable. He added, quote, "In this moment, it is important to be clear we must stand up against bias, hatred, bigotry, and ignorance to make society a better place for all of us." And of course, plenty of celebrities are commenting on Roseanne's racism. Some are suggesting new revivals that could take its place. Charlie Sheen asked about a 2.5 Men reboot, and Zach Braff joked about one for Scrubs. Obviously, ABC couldn't have continued Roseanne without Roseanne, but some random guy had a brilliant idea saying, quote, "Can we just rebrand the show Dan and have John Goodman hang out with Jeff Bridges?" Oh my gosh. How unbelievably brilliant would this be? Yeah, call the show Dan, have John Goodman hang out with Jeff Bridges while slowly transitioning the whole thing into a Big Lebowski TV show. I'm so on board for this. One of the more bizarre reactions came from former TV host Eric Balling. Right after Roseanne apologized and said she was leaving Twitter, he tweeted, quote, "No apology necessary at all, Roseanne, and please don't leave unless it's just for a few minutes." Yeah, whatever the hell that means, he's since deleted the tweet.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KPRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America. Now, more AD on the radio.
So, I'm on 25 or so radio stations around the country at the moment. And at the moment, because Memorial Day has come and gone and summertime is kind of sort of officially here, almost every single one of those radio stations is giving away tickets to some version of a fair, a state fair, something of that nature. And I'm actually going to get to go to a bunch of them, which I love. I have a great time. It's an awesome time. I love state fairs. I love county fairs. I love all of these things. I love the food. I love eating things that shouldn't be put together. Like, what was the thing I had at the last state fair I went to? It's all this stuff that's basically shaving years off the end of your life. But to me, those are the adult diaper years. So if I eat, what was it? Oh, it was the donut cheeseburger that I had last time. Actually, that wasn't very good. I mean, I was all into the deep fried Oreos, the deep fried Twinkies, the deep fried, oh man, the deep fried Reese's Pieces and the deep fried Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Unbelievably delicious. But the donut cheeseburger didn't really, you know what it was? It was a donut with a cheeseburger in the middle of it. Instead of a bun, you got a donut. And you know what? I love donuts. I love cheeseburgers, but those are two things that are independently great. They do not go well together. But all the rest of the stuff I really liked. Except, well, deep fried Oreos are a weird one because they should be unspeakably delicious. But the cream filling in a deep fried Oreo, I'm sure you've had this happen to you if you've eaten one before, it kind of sort of turns into a powder. It doesn't hold its creamy consistency, and therein lies the rub with that one. But I love state fairs. I love the entertainment. I love getting to see bands like Huey Lewis and the News. Oh, that was such a great show. And you know what? Had they not been playing at the fair, I probably never would have gotten an opportunity to see them. So that was really cool. One thing I do not take part in, though, is those games. Do you play the carnival games? Like the try and shoot the star out of the paper target thing with a BB gun. Yeah. I mean, I think I might have gone in for those when I was a kid, or throw the ping pong balls into the little cups that are floating in the water or something like that. The only game I'll ever really play, the only game I'll ever really take part in at the fair is one where I know there can be a winner because, well, there has to be a winner every time. And that's the sort of horse racy thing where you blow up the balloon and your horse races because you're shooting your water gun into the clown's mouth. That one's a lot of fun. I like that one. But yeah, overall, as David Spade pointed out, carnival games, they're a giant ripoff.
The AZ State Fair. That is a grim bunch, gang. I got bad news for America. They're pulling them in from all four corners on that one. Yikes. I played that game where you throw a quarter and try to make it land on a plate sprayed with Pam 50 yards away. It sticks. She went like, I never got that far. I have no idea. I was out there all day going, I don't find out till later in college it's physically impossible to make the quarter stick because of the laws of the universe. But of course, that's not posted everywhere. So I'm out there with all this money going, oh shoot, I almost had that one if it wasn't for gravity. Hey! I'd be really good at this game if it was on Neptune.
All right, so if you are looking for a potential sweetie pie to take to a state fair or some sort of summertime entertainment, you might be looking to improve your dating profile picture. And you know what? You shouldn't be choosing that dating profile picture. Who should you allow to choose the profile picture on your Tinder or whatever the hell it is hookup app that you're using? It's an interesting one, and we'll discuss a little after we get into the news. Let's you and I take a moment to chat about what's going on in the world. As you and I were talking about earlier, ABC has canceled Roseanne following Roseanne Barr's racist comments on Twitter. Unfortunately, no one from the cast of Fuller House has done anything untoward on social media. But yeah, a bunch of the cast members are doing well enough outside the show to survive. Not all of them, though. Sarah Gilbert, she'll be fine. Wanda Sykes, she'll be fine. But I hear the guy who plays DJ is already accepting gigs as a DJ. And, well, I can tell you, this does not pay well. Megyn Kelly has criticized Starbucks for allowing anyone to use their bathrooms. Megyn Kelly criticized Starbucks for allowing anybody to use their bathrooms. In response, I would imagine Starbucks criticized NBC for allowing anyone to host a daytime talk show. Justin Theroux appears to have a new girlfriend. That's Jennifer Aniston's ex-husband. He appears to have a new girlfriend. But don't worry about Jennifer Aniston. I think she's just adopted 4 new cats, so she'll be A-okay. Gwyneth Paltrow recently revealed that she smokes marijuana and plenty of it. Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow said she smokes a lot of pot. But you know what? So would you if you had to spend the whole day around Gwyneth Paltrow. Starbucks, if you tried to get coffee at a Starbucks yesterday, there was a very good chance you could not. Starbucks closed all of its stores yesterday afternoon so employees could receive racial insensitivity training or racial sensitivity training. I guess they don't get trained to be insensitive, but yeah. Starbucks closed all of its stores yesterday so employees could receive racial sensitivity training. I would imagine it probably didn't take all that long. They just told everybody to read Roseanne's Twitter and do the opposite. They're being told to treat everybody equally. There you go. Except for me, when I walk in and say, can I just have a regular coffee? Then I get all the snark and contempt that a barista can muster. I just like coffee-flavored coffee. I don't need any. I like a black coffee. Is there anything wrong with that? Apparently there is. At least according to the surly barista at the place that I frequent. Starbucks lost revenue during the times when the stores were closed. Yeah, Starbucks lost a whole bunch of money. No word yet on if the loss was considered to be a grande or a venti, but they did lose a big chunk of change. Do you think that's really the point they were trying to make? Because, you know, you can have the sensitivity training without shutting down all of Starbucks for an afternoon. Is it just the sort of, hey, look, we're willing to take the financial hit aspect of shutting down that they think sort of signals that they've got the right intentions in this situation? Because I don't know. I look at this situation and I know that they lost millions of dollars by shutting down for an afternoon. There's a lot of people in this world. Pretty much all of them drink coffee, and all of them like to drink coffee at Starbucks. And when Starbucks stops selling coffee for a significant amount of time, a significant amount of money is going to be lost. And I don't think that was really necessary. I think they're kind of sort of making a point saying we're willing to fall on the fiscal sword in order to prove that we're serious about this. That's what I think. A website did a study recently to determine what booze tastes best in Wendy's Frosties. Oh yeah, people have been boozing up Wendy's Frosties. And all of a sudden, with the knowledge that they could put liquor into ice cream, all of a sudden, parents across America were actually sort of looking forward to youth soccer season. There you go. That'll get you through it. Researchers have gone on the record saying that aspirin and champagne can stop dementia. Yeah, researchers have said that aspirin and champagne can stop dementia. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, my boss's breakfast is working like a charm. Good for them. Papua New Guinea. Did you see this? This is an interesting one. Papua New Guinea is banning Facebook for a month. Yeah, for 1 month. Folks in Papua New Guinea will not be allowed to go on Facebook. How they're going to enforce this ban is kind of sort of beyond me. But yeah, that's the deal. Papua New Guinea has banned Facebook for a month. So there you have it. Tough news. Tough news for everyone in Papua New Guinea who's been dying to hear about the CrossFit workouts of some dude that they haven't seen since high school. Do you even go on Facebook anymore? I kind of sort of have to for work. It's sort of part of my job. If I don't post a certain number of things on Facebook, I'm going to get a nasty gram from somebody in the digital department being like, you're not engaging your audience. And I do plenty of that on Twitter. You tweet me at ADSXE. I'll tweet you right back. Lickety freaking split. But just opening up Facebook. I used to be entertained. I used to be amused. I used to be like, oh, that's so nice. But I just don't. Yeah, I just don't anymore. Like, I get absolutely nothing out of it. So the only time I'm doing it is really sort of out of a bit of a sense of obligation. I like seeing what's going on in your life on Instagram. I think that's kind of cool. That hasn't become mind-numbingly boring or mind-numbingly depressing yet the way Facebook has. And Twitter I love. Twitter is a great way of communicating for me. You know what I love about Twitter? I love the limited characters on Twitter because, well, that way you can respond to absolutely everybody. You can have a conversation and nobody has an opportunity to write War and freaking Peace the way they do in Facebook messengers or in emails and be like, I have some questions about the music that you play. Point A, subsection B, Metallica's Black Album. You know, those are the emails I get. And when it's just a quick thing on Twitter, I know I can get to it, and that makes me feel better because I like to get to everything. And on Twitter, I know that I'm able to do that. So there you go. But yeah, Facebook, how much are you actually involved in it? I mean, there was obviously the whole thing with data privacy recently, but I think it's still number one. I think it's still the most used social media platform far and away. So somebody's still going on there willingly. And that means folks in Papua New Guinea are going to be upset when Facebook is banned for a month for some reason. A survey found that the Speedo is the clothing item that people hate the most. Yeah, a survey finds that the Speedo is the clothing item that people hate the most. Is that still true if the Speedo is buttless? I'm asking for a friend. All right. Here's the thing. If you are looking for love and romance this summertime, if you're looking to get out and meet someone, well, there's a very good chance that you are working with one of those dating apps, you know, Tinder or something of that nature, and you want people to swipe on you. And so you spend a lot of time stressing about your profile picture. What's the right one that's going to attract the right quality of swipe and lead you into a long, healthy, happy relationship, or at least, you know, boost your self-esteem to the point where you feel like someone wants to go out on a date with you, so you feel good about yourself enough to stay home and watch TV the way you really wanted to in the first place. I don't know. I do know this, though. People stress out a lot about their dating profile pictures. So here's a weird tip that could get you more dates, or at the very least, more swipes. If you're doing online dating, don't ask me, don't ask your friend, don't ask your mom, don't ask your brother, sister, your coworkers, don't ask people who know you what the best picture is. Ask a complete stranger. Yeah, let a complete stranger choose your dating profile picture. Recent study found that there's a very good chance that they're going to do a better job than you and a better job than the people that know you, and they're going to help you choose a much more attractive photo. You see, this is the deal. Researchers in Australia did an experiment with about 100 people. That's a good enough sample size to get kind of an accurate reading on something, but they did an experiment with around 100 people. Each person provided 12 photos of themselves and chose the one that they liked the best. And then complete strangers chose the one that they liked. And those photos were consistently ranked as more attractive, more trustworthy, and more confident by other people. Yeah. In other words, the study found that we choose unflattering photos of ourselves for some reason, and it's not clear why. We choose unflattering photos of ourselves. Now, obviously, most of us aren't just going to flag someone down on the street and ask for help with our dating profile. That would be all kinds of weird. And if you had that kind of cojones, you don't need a dating profile. You just need to go out into the street and go, want to go on a date? Want to go on a date? Want to go on a date? Eventually, you'll get somewhere. But you could maybe just ask people online, or just ask a friend that doesn't necessarily know you all that well to choose your picture. The study didn't look at how good friends are at it, but it sounds like choosing one yourself is absolutely the worst option. Yeah, choosing your own online dating picture yourself is absolutely the worst option. So anyone else's opinion, especially a stranger's, is better than yours. There you go. Now you know. Happy swiping. Have yourself an awesome one.